So you're here because you want to run and scale meta ads, whether you're a beginner or you're advanced. Today, we're going to go over a full step-by-step A to Z course of how to run and scale Facebook and Instagram ads for your business, regardless of what business type you actually are. My name's Evan Seach. I own Sell More Online, and I've been running ads for 7 years now. And I work with some household names in the agency space, coaching, B2B, SaaS. I even work with some real estate funds and syndications. I've generated over $38 million through advertising for clients and scaling. And I've worked with over 40 businesses on a done for you basis, helping them scale their ads. And at the same time, have done this in over 20 niches and verticals. So I know a lot about meta advertising. And today we're gonna dive into everything step by step so you know how to run and scale ads from scratch. So strap in, because this is going to be a long one and a good one for you. So this comprehensive guide reveals the proven system used to scale businesses from 0 to 7 figures with Facebook and Instagram ads. Unlike the typical spray and pray approach most advertisers use, this document and this video here outlines a strategic framework that addresses the fundamental challenges of cold traffic acquisition, conversion optimization, and sustainable scaling. You'll discover inside of this video the exact methodology for creating offers that work with cold audiences. That's very key. A lot of people skip that. Messaging strategies that stop the scroll and attract your ideal audience. Targeting methods that actually scale, and optimization tactics that keep costs low while driving profitable growth. And of course, we want to book out your calendar so it looks like this and basically get you overwhelmed like our boy Mazen here, one of our clients. We've been booking out a lot of meetings for them. So a lot of qualified calls. So that's what we want to help you do. First is we need to understand the critical mindset shift. So like why do 90% of Facebook ads fail to begin with? Okay. Why isn't everyone just running and printing a 4x ROAS? Well, first is most people have backwards thinking. So most businesses create a product or an offer first and then try to force Facebook ads to work for it. That's backwards. We're going to get into that in a sec, but that's backwards, okay? What we want to do is create a product or an offer that fits super well with Facebook ads and can really easily scale on the platform, right? We want to build something or just modify what we currently have so it works really well with cold traffic and Facebook ads. And I'm going to show you how to do all that in a second here. And then most people don't understand the cold traffic reality. Like, look, you're just interrupting people who don't know, like, or trust you yet on a social media platform. And that requires a different approach to actually reach them and convert them and get them to know, like, and trust you. And that's what we're going to go over today. Economic viability. So your offer actually must be freaking profitable on the front end, not just lifetime value. Like, we're going to go into an example where software companies, they will spend $500 to $600 to acquire somebody for $100 a month. So they're playing the long game. I don't like to do that. I like to make ads profitable. That's how you scale fast. You have to make the actual engine, the actual offer, the thing that you're selling on the front end profitable so you can inject it back into ads and scale quicker. And then you want to also follow a proven framework. This is mainly for creative testing, but success requires a systematic approach, not just random testing and hoping. The biggest mistake costing advertisers thousands of dollars is approaching Facebook ads with the wrong foundation. When you're running Facebook ads, you're reaching people in an interruption-based environment who have never heard of you. They don't know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you yet. You're interrupting their scroll through content that they actually want to see. This reality demands what we called a cold traffic optimized offer and dialed in creatives, I might add. That's what we're going to go into too. Something fundamentally different from what works in warm marketing environments, like through organic content. Your offer needs to be scroll stopping for your exact ideal customer profile, economically viable on the front end so you actually scale profitably and not burn money, and structured to work within Facebook's optimization algorithms. By the end of this whole video, my entire goal is you'll have the complete blueprint that covers everything from creating offers that actually work with cold traffic to the multiple different targeting methods that you can use to scale, funnel strategies, how to make a good funnel, landing page, VSL, all that fun stuff, how to make great ads, and also the media buying tactics that keep costs low while scaling up. This is literally everything you need to run profitable Facebook ads in 2025. If you're watching this in the future, 2026, unless I've come up with an updated video, this is going to help you regardless of what time it is. So first, the foundation itself, we need a cold traffic optimized offer. So what makes an offer cold traffic ready? Your offer needs to be scroll stopping for your exact ideal customer profile. Let's examine what this actually means, okay? So if you're targeting business owners who struggle with show rates on their sales calls, for example, your cold traffic optimized offer isn't just, I help with sales, okay? Instead, it becomes, we'll fix your show rates with this easy to install plug and play system in 30 days. let's break this down, okay? So notice the specific language that we're using. Easy to install, plug and plays, in 30 days, right? Going back to Alex Hormozi's $100 million offers book, The Staple, you want to allow people to use your offer and get results fast with minimal time, effort, and energy invested. So that's why we use phrases most of the time on these front end offers, like done for you, plug and play, install the system, 30-day implementation, etc. Like that's why these things work, because they imply that you're going to get results quick and it's easy to install. And then of course, you really want to back this up with mountains of proof, especially if you have it. Mountains of proof. If you have a guarantee, you can slap it on there too, but don't jump to guarantees immediately, because sometimes if you layer on a guarantee, you could get some, lack of better terms, lower quality people, okay? So it just depends on what game you're playing, right? But a cold traffic optimized offer is one that has low friction on the front end, low time investment, sometimes low cost, but solves a specific problem that the prospect needs right now. And you want to make it plug and play, done for you, stuff like that, because that is really what's going to sell super well. You can do done with you, do it yourself and all that. Just make sure to frame it properly in your ads. And now the economics must work. Here's the critical piece that a lot of people miss is your offer actually has to make money on the front end, right? For example, I use software companies as an example on this because it's a great way to frame it. But for example, say a software company, they have a $100 a month product and they're trying to run ads to their core offer. $100 a month subscription, right? If it costs them $400 to acquire a customer, they need that customer to stick around for 4 months just to break even. That's not sustainable for most businesses, especially if you're trying to scale fast. So if you have a lower priced offer, in this case, for example, you need to bolt on something higher priced, like a setup fee, onboarding service, consulting package, or some sort of front end offer that feeds prospects into your main business, okay? That's exactly, if you look at what Daniel Fazio does with ListKit, that's exactly what they do, right? They have their cold email setup offer on the front end, which gets people to start cold emailing, and that feeds into the back end their ListKit subscriptions. That right there, he could liquidate on the front end and sign up users on the back end. So even if you have an info product or something like that, or an agency service, that's what you want to think of. So that's exactly what companies like Daniel Fazio at ListKit do. Is on the front end, they have their cold traffic optimized offer, which is the cold email setup offer, which basically gets people to start cold emailing, and then that feeds into their back end offer. So now let's get into the actual messaging and ad creatives that stop the scroll. So how to make ads that convert, attract your target audience, and stop the scroll. So first, we want to use real-time contextual messaging in our ads, okay? So once you have your cold traffic optimized offer, you know what you're going to offer, you know how you're going to say it, you know if you're going to have a guarantee, you know the time frame you're going to help somebody achieve a result, what specific result you're going to achieve for them. Is it plug and play? Is it done for you? Is it done with you? Do it yourself? All that stuff. Once you have a grasp on that offer, now we got to make the ads for it. So this is where most advertisers go completely wrong and use just generic and lazy approaches. So you've probably seen all the ineffective ads that say, attention coaches, course creators, agencies, consultants, that junk. Like that doesn't work, okay? These don't work anymore because they're not specific enough. What we want to do is speak to real-time contextual scenarios, pain points, and dream states that our ideal customers are experiencing right now, and then trust Meta and all of its data it has on all the users and all of its advertisers on its platform. We want to trust Meta to deliver those ads to the right people, and it does that really well. We'll get into targeting in a second here, but even broad, that thing's going to do super well by looking at what you have in the creative and delivering it to the right people at the right time. We want our prospects to watch our ad and think, holy crap, I was literally just talking to my wife about this exact problem. Like I have this exact issue. I was literally thinking about it. That's the level of specific advertising and messaging and relevance that we're targeting and trying to have through our ads. This creates an immediate emotional connection and stops the scroll. So the messaging bucket strategy, this is what we do. I have a full video breakdown on this specifically, but we're gonna dive into it here. So what you wanna do is create different messaging buckets. So you have your ICP, right? For example, somebody that wants to run ads, a business owner that wants to run ads and scale their company with ads, okay? We have that there. Then what we wanna do is think of different scenarios in real-time context, pain points, desires that these people who want to run ads, these business owners that want to run ads, find themselves in, right? Bucket 1 could be they're dealing with lead quality issues. Bucket 2 is they're dealing with inconsistent ad performance. Bucket 3 is maybe they've just hired bad agencies in the past, right? These are all different scenarios that somebody who wants to run run and scale ads for their business could find themselves in. We create these different buckets, and then within these different buckets later, that's where we're gonna actually write the ads themselves. We're gonna write 3 to 5, sometimes more, full ads per bucket that are even micro variations and are different sub-segments and sub-problems that fit into this larger messaging bucket that we're gonna test around, okay? That'll all make sense here shortly. But the messaging bucket strategy is we make a messaging bucket here, right? So number 1 could be lead quality issues. So you're booking calls through ads, but you're not closing them because you're getting terrible leads who can't afford your services and aren't decision makers, okay? That's a big overall bucket of somebody who wants to scale ads for their business are dealing with right now. Then bucket 2 could be inconsistent ad performance. So your ad performance is inconsistent. One week it works great, the next week it completely dies and you can't figure out why. That's another, right? This person wants to run ads to scale their business. It's just a different problem they're dealing with. Bucket 3 is bad agency experiences. So they've hired bad agencies before, they suck, they took your money without results, and now you don't know where to turn for help. So this business owner still wants to run ads to scale their business. They just have another pain point, another problem that they've hired bad agencies in the past and haven't gotten results. These are 3 distinct scenarios, 3 different messaging buckets for the same target audience of business owners who want to run ads in this example. Within each bucket, I'll then again create 3 to 5 different ads, sometimes 10, that approach the scenario from different angles using different hooks, stories, and emotional triggers. If I have high spend, that's where I'll make like the 10 ads. If I have a lower spend, that's where I'll make less ads because I don't want to spread myself thin on tests. Now, video ad specifications. So the technical specs, we like to do 45 to 90 seconds long maximum. 9:16 is how we film them for mobile optimization. That's really what we're going for. Important content we want to fit within a 1:1 frame. So if you basically think of it like you have a 9:16, right? A reel format or a story format, we want all the main content, like the main face, the text, different elements, to be within a 1:1 frame. So if it shows up in feed 1:1, it looks clean. If it shows up 4:5, it still looks good. If it shows up 9:16, everything's still in the middle and still looks good. That's what we want to do. So I give my editors an overlay that they can use when they edit to fit everything in a 1:1 frame. Production quality for video ads, we want to have clean and professional appearance. We don't want it to be overly edited or overly produced, like hyper edits and everything like that. And we want to focus on having a strong visual hook in the first 3 seconds. Now, hook elements is we can use text overlay with key points, right? Like what the actual ad's about. You've seen some of those organic ones where it has literally like the topic of the video in the first 3 seconds and big text. That works really well. Props or whiteboards for visual interest. I use that all the time. Flip charts, we've used one with Christian from ListKit with a flip chart. That ad printed and cooked and still cooks to this day. Visual aids work really well. And then pattern interrupts that grab attention. So when we run video ads, we almost exclusively see them outperforming static images by a significant margin right now. The key is creating content that feels native to the platform while delivering your core message effectively within the first few seconds. Now, I will say image ads can do well. They're easier to spin up. So if we're working with a client that can't necessarily film too much, we'll have to leverage static ads, and we don't want to have a lot of text on there. We don't want them to look cluttered and everything like that. We want them to still be clean and test different messaging around that and test different hooks and stuff like that. So usually we'll try to keep as minimal text as possible, make it visually appealing. And with image ads, we want to pump them out because we can really pump them out a lot quicker. And then ideally, if you have an image ad that hits, we can kind of replicate that into a video. We can take what's on the image, the messaging and everything like that, the hook, and just put it in video format later. You could also include banners like these on ads in 4x5s as a split test if you'd like. We've seen some really good results with these. Here are some examples. And if you want this document, there's a link down below. You can click, fill out your name, phone number, and email, and I'll send this over to you so you can see these examples. But here's some examples of some 9x16s, right? Everything is within the 1:1 frame. Right here, everything is within this nice 1:1 frame, all that stuff. And these are working really well. But these banners work pretty well too right now. Usually we'll launch with 9x16s first like this, and then later we'll launch with these 4x5s or 1:1s. They do pretty good. Now let's move. Now that we got the ads in place, let's move on to, and now a quick note on actually writing the ads itself is, again, you want to have hook, body, CTA. So I have a full video breaking down how to write good video ads right here. But just in a short synopsis, what we want to do is, again, test multiple different hooks within these messaging buckets. And then from there, we want to have the bodies tie into the hooks. Okay, so that's a big thing, is the body should support the hook. So we want want to basically state the problem, dream state, desire, and pull people in, the real-time circumstance that somebody's experiencing right now in the hook. And then the body should support that. So it should talk about why the problem's happening, how we can actually help them solve it, what case studies we have, what proof we have, the outcomes that we can get them. And then the call to action is just simply telling them where to go next. Don't overthink it. That's what you essentially want to do. And when we have these messaging buckets, again, right, once we create these up here, we want to write those 3 to 10 ads, individual ads within these messaging buckets. And I personally like to write full ads initially when I'm testing messaging buckets. So I'll actually sit down, write the full ad. I won't do that thing where it's 5 hooks spliced onto 2 bodies. I'll do that once we have a proven angle, like a proven messaging bucket and ad idea that works. Then I'll do that to pump out more volume. But initially I'm writing the full ad, right? Just so there's a lot of congruency. That's really the main thing. I want it to just flow nice and good. So now moving on to the funnels and conversion mechanism. So here's something a lot of people get wrong is they don't pair their offer with the right conversion mechanism. You have several different options when you're running ads. You can run a webinar, you can run paid challenges, free challenges, VSL call funnels, application funnels, lead magnet funnels, even just don't do those. For the most part, don't do those. Your specific offer is going to pair better with one of these over the others, okay? So if your offer needs extensive education, for example, and it's not widely accepted as a solution, maybe a webinar or a challenge will work better because it's going to build trust and authority because this person needs more time in the sales and education process to actually trust you and see you as an authority figure and understand the solution that you're proposing to them. Okay, if you have some real estate investing offer, for example, and it's like a weird way to invest in real estate that people don't necessarily understand, like maybe the FHA, that 203K thing that one of the guys on Instagram I keep seeing pumping, where basically it's like a co-living type thing. Not sure the full specifics, but it's basically you get like a duplex or something like that. See, I don't even know that much about it. I know real estate investing is good, but I need to learn more about how this 203K type thing works for me to actually convert. So if I just hopped in and saw a call funnel with a quick VSL, my sales process is going to be a lot longer unless he does bolt on some things on the back end like content retargeting and email flows and all that, which is more advanced strategies that we employ for our done for you clients into their offers and into their ad system so they can scale. But anyways, if it's an offer like that where it just takes more education to tell somebody what the solution is, what the process is, everything like that, a conversion mechanism like a webinar or a paid challenge will do super well versus a call funnel. Call funnels can still work, but again, you just have to have those back-end systems like the content remarketing and email flows to educate someone and bring them up to speed on what your actual service and solution is, because again, it's not widely accepted as like, hey, I'll show you how to fix and flip homes. In that case, VSL call funnel will be fine because everyone knows, oh yeah, I know the concept of fixing and flipping a home. Very straightforward. I buy a beat up home, I fix it and I flip it. You're just gonna show me how to do it? Oh, you got a bunch of case studies? Cool, let's roll. Right? So again, if your offer is more straightforward and well understood, like a B2B offer for the most part too, a call funnel might be the optimal path. The key is matching your conversion mechanism to both your offer complexity and your target audience's buying behavior. Those are the keys. So for example, like our call funnel system is we have a VSL, right? The prospect watches some sort of educational content or informative content about your offer that positions your solution and builds desire for the outcome you provide. We have a qualification form, so we use Typeform with qualifying questions to ensure that leads meet your ideal customer criteria before booking calls, which that ties into pixel conditioning, which we're going to get into in a sec. And then we have a calendar booking, right? We have a Calendly usually embedded as the final step for the qualified prospects on the Typeform to go in and schedule their consultation or strategy session, right? It's connected. So we usually, with these VSL call funnels, we have like 2 steps. We literally have the VSL with the Typeform embedded on it or a pop-up, and then at the end of that Typeform is a Calendly. Once they fill that out, they go over to a confirmation page. That's literally our funnel system right there. It's not some Frankenstein funnel with 4 different pages and all this stuff like that. It's very simple and straightforward, and just enough friction to allow the qualified prospects to still go through and book in. So again, on pixel conditioning here, for those of you that don't know, Meta is just a big AI platform. So the data that you feed into it is the exact data that you're going to get out basically. So if you're feeding bad data in, you're going to get bad data out. Mixed data in, you're going to get mixed data out. Good data in and qualified data, you're going to get good data and qualified data out, right? It's basically just like taking in, oh, okay, cool. You got this person that converted and this person that booked a call, this person that's, filled out a webinar registration form or something like that. Meta is going to look at who that person is and they're going to go find more people like that as long as you report that conversion back to them. So what we do is, again, we have the main landing page with the application, and we send people down one of two paths depending on how they actually fill out the application. If they fill it out in an unqualified manner, we pass them down this path. And this path is our like pixel protection page, okay? There is no standard event code that reports back into Meta here. If they're qualified, they go to a schedule page and all that stuff, or a confirmation page if we're just basically bolting on the scheduler in the application, right? They would skip this step and they go right to the confirmation page. And the confirmation page has the standard event code on it, and that feeds back into Meta. So right now, what that does is we're only optimizing around MQLs, so marketing qualified leads. Only the qualified people who book calls report back to Facebook as conversions. That's the key part. That way, Facebook's algorithm learns to find more qualified prospects who match your criteria, not just anyone who clicks and fills out a form. Sometimes if we're getting funnel hacked frequently, we'll use the conversion API and manually mark qualified leads in our CRM to report back to Facebook. That gives us more control over the optimization signal, but it's more of an advanced implementation that requires some proper technical setup. But if you're getting funnel hacked a ton and working with somebody who, gets funnel hacked a ton, like we work with some big name clients that get just berated with funnel hacks, this is what we're doing right now for them. So landing pages. What you want to do is you want to make your landing pages professional, nicely branded, and this is very important, responsive on all devices, especially mobile. You want to make them look very clean, right? Don't over-clutter them, right? Don't over-clutter them with tons of text. Make it very clean, easy to read, and put the majority of your emphasis on the headline when you're actually making it, because that's what matters. Most people land on the page, look at the headline, and make it value-driven and clear what you do and what you help with. Every word when you're copywriting has to earn its place. This is a great frame of mind. Every single word has to earn its place. If it does not help aid in the messaging, build credibility, or anything like that, or hit a pain point or a desire, delete it. Here are some examples of different landing pages that we've built, and especially on this one right here, if you have this document, you'll be able to click and go check it on out. So again, click below, opt in, and you'll be able to get this for you. What we like to do with landing pages too is we like to go through what's called like the scroll test. So if you basically land on the page, you look at the headline, right? You want to scroll kind of slowly through it, and what you should see are these different segments in these different headlines that we have on the page should still tell you in a very short period of time in an easy way what the page is about, what the offer is about, what the product's about, etc. Right? Most people, for example, aren't going to read all this stuff, but they will read this headline, they will look at this page here, or this thing here, they will look at this, they will look at some of the highlighted text. So you want to make it easy for someone to scroll through and essentially consume different pieces of information as if they're just leisurely scrolling through that page, okay? Don't expect people to read all of these blocks of text. You still can have it on there, but don't expect them to read all these things. That's why we use highlights. That's why we use bold. That's why we really try to curate these headlines throughout the entire page properly. Use images that aid in the messaging. That is very key, right? Like right here on this page, we scroll through, right? This is a big thing for cold emails right here. Why use these guys versus other tools, etc. So those are a couple key things on landing pages, but as you can see, each of these are super nice and branded. That's a big thing that we do. We don't use a lot of templates. So they're nice, branded, clean, and the headlines are very value driven, and they're like, hey, this is what we can do for you, okay? It's all about you. And now something to note too, let's just think about this, all right? The whole goal of the actual ad itself is to get somebody to click on the landing page, okay? That's the whole goal of it. Then what is this landing page here? The whole goal is to essentially fill out an application, right? The headline is supposed to get them to watch the VSL and learn more information, right? And get them and pull them into the offer and make them feel like they're in the right place. Just keep that frame of mind when you're building these things. Now, going to the VSL, touch on these really quick. These can be as short as 3 to 5 minutes and all the way up to 40 plus minutes. So in these, you want to explain the problem, who it's for, your solution, and build credibility without going too overboard with the context, right? You don't want to make this some long, extended, huge kind of breakdown and education session, okay? This is what you essentially want to do is you just want to say, here's the problem. This is for you if you're experiencing this problem and fit these certain criteria. Here's our solution. Here's the outcome it's going to get for you. And then we want to build credibility and show people that we've done this thing for other people before, whatever you're selling. And then if you have this document again, here are some examples. This is a great retention graph that we love to see. We don't like to see a big dip here and then a steady hold. We love to see a nice gradual decline here. It's a great example of a strong retention curve and a strong performing VSL, because a lot of people are consuming it, right? So, and then we also like to use video thumbnails on our landing pages and also use custom branding on Wistia to actually make it look good. So now I want to dive into the actual targeting, right? Everyone loves targeting. All you media buyers love the targeting and everything like that. So here are the 3 cold audience targeting methods that scale. So what we do when we run ads is we use a CBO structure as our foundation for testing. So we test everything in a CBO, which is campaign budget optimization, with 1 to 3 ad sets max, each ad set representing one of our 3 core targeting methods. This structure allows Facebook's algorithm to distribute the budget towards the best performing audiences while giving us clear data on which targeting approach works best for our specific offer. So method number 1, and by the way, I have a full video that breaks down all of this in detail if you want to check it on out. But method 1 is lookalike audiences. So we keep these tight, usually 1 to 3% in similarity. Now, lookalike audience is you basically uploading a data set to Facebook and are like, hey, go find people that are like this, basically. It could be, purchase data lookalikes, SQLs, so sales qualified leads you've had, website visitor lookalikes, or lead form completion lookalikes, right? These work exceptionally well because Facebook finds people similar to your best customers, website visitors, or people who have taken desired actions and shown intent with your company already. Method number 2 is using cold interest stacks. So layering on multiple interests, behaviors, and demographic traits that fit your target demographic and ICP. Not just one interest. We stack several that our ideal customer would likely have based upon their behaviors and preferences. So industry specific interests, demographic traits, tools, competitors, behavioral indicators, right? We go into the ad set and we hit that further limit the reach of your ads at the bottom, and we just start layering things on, right? We think, okay, cool. If they're interested in Facebook advertising, if I'm selling Facebook ads to businesses, right? I want to put small business owners, business page admins, marketing, online marketing, stuff like that, okay? You just want to layer things on. Don't really overcomplicate this step. You want it to still show up broad. You basically want to layer on a bunch of interests and just bias the algorithm towards one certain direction that you feel is probable. You're basically like helping Meta and be like, hey Meta, instead of just going like full broad, I think these set of demographic traits and characteristics and behaviors and interests fit my target audience I'm trying to basically serve this ad to. So can you please just like bias towards that initially? And we turn Advantage Plus on most of the time. Sometimes some accounts are actually like getting rid of this now, but Advantage Plus can be turned on in the targeting options to essentially allow Facebook to go beyond the interest that you have placed in that interest stack if it deems that it's going to actually convert better, right? So if you have a bunch of interest for online marketing and it's like, hey, I'm going to expand out beyond that because I think it's going to convert better, totally cool. You can allow it to do that. Allow it to expand outside of those parameters that you have placed in the interest stack. Now, method 3 is broad targeting. This is where you don't put anything, okay? You're letting Facebook find whoever is most likely to convert based on your past pixel data and the past ad account data and everything, and ad messaging in the creative itself, right? The environment of the ad, what you say in the ad, all that stuff plays into account here of who's going to get targeted. And this works great on seasoned accounts with a lot of conversion data. Age and location only is really what you can play with. You're letting the algorithm optimize. It does require some pixel data like on newer accounts, which I'll get into in a sec. We do like to basically still test broad on newer accounts, but we do like to do cold interest stacks as well to really bias the algorithm initially, so it's just not just going sporadic in the early stages of the optimization period. And broad's really good for scaling accounts because you're just basically uploading it to Facebook and saying, hey Facebook, go find who you think is most probable to convert based on all the data you have on all your advertisers and users, and do your thing. So there's a huge audience pool for you to tap into. You can also target warm audiences through a warm audience interest stack, which is basically where you say, hey, if you're like a content agency or a brand that has a bunch of content out right now, you have a bunch of video views, organic video views, what you can do is you can layer these into a warm interest stack, like different organic video views, page interactions, likes, all that stuff, like social post interactions. You can layer those onto a warm interest stack audience and basically target people that have already engaged with your social profiles or brand in some capacity. These are really good, especially when we step into a deal and we have a company who has a big personal brand or something like that, and they've never run a warm interest stack. They never run direct response ads to their audience. This is fantastic to do because you're basically taking that audience that they built up organically and just running ads to it. That's all that is. So what we like to do too when we actually run the ads is we use dynamic creative. So in each ad set, we use the same dynamic creative setup. This means we're uploading anywhere from 4 to 10 videos, depending on the budget, 2 to 3 headlines, 2 descriptions, and 2 to 3 pieces of body copy. I typically with body copy do 1 long, 1 medium, and 1 short body copy. And we're basically allowing Facebook's algorithm through dynamic creative, right? So on the ad set level, we're checking where it says dynamic creative. We're checking that box. We're allowing Facebook's algorithm to mix and match everything to find the best combinations for each individual user. So if you're spending less than like $100 per day, stick to just 4 to 5, even 3 high quality videos in that dynamic creative set. If you're spending $500 plus per day, you can test more creative variations. The key is maintaining quality over quantity. It's better to have a few excellent ads than a bunch of mediocre ones, right? So 4 to 10 video ads per dynamic creative set, 2 to 3 headlines, 3 pieces of body copy max. All of these on the max end, okay? Don't spread your budget thin. Don't put 10 ads in the dynamic creative set if you're spending $100 a day. You're not gonna be able to test efficiently. You're spreading your budget way too thin. Now, optimization and scaling. So the data-driven approach, okay? So when you first launch ads, here's how we optimize the campaigns systematically. We let campaigns run for a minimum of 4 to 5 days before making any optimization decisions. So this is crucial because Facebook's algorithm needs time to learn and optimize. Making changes too early can reset this learning phase. Now, if it's a new account with no data, I let this run further, okay? I'll let it run 10, 14 days, right? I essentially understand that, hey, look, right? I'll look at the front end metrics, like if CPMs are okay, and I'm getting some good like qualified opt-ins and applications, but maybe not book calls or running a call funnel. My CTR is good, stuff like that. I'll let these things kind of run. But if it's a new account, you have to have a little bit looser of a leash. If it's an account that's been spending for a while, you have clear KPIs on the campaigns, you can kill these things fast once you launch them because you already have the pre-existing data in the account and the account's already optimized pretty good for what you're trying to look for. So you can have a shorter leash on campaigns if you have a higher spend in an older account that has been running. But just before everything, you have to financially model literally everything out first. So pull up a spreadsheet of whatever funnel you're doing, map it out. Like you have to know what your target cost per call is, your target cost per acquisition, cost per purchase going into the campaign. Because if you don't, and you run ads, you don't know what's performing good or not. So you don't know what metrics you need to hit. So model it out first before running ads. So then once you actually launch them, you can watch in the first few days, see where the metrics are. And if one's not good, you just kill it and you launch a new one, right? You learn from what lost, you learn from what won, and you launch a new one. So once we launch ads within 5 days, if you're hitting your target numbers, it's time to scale it. If not, we analyze the bottlenecks systematically and we fix those, okay? We find what's easiest to fix at that time. So day 1 through 4, again, we monitor but let it spend. Day 4 through 5, we analyze the key KPIs, so cost per call, purchases, etc. If it's actually making revenue, that's a big thing too. Like we look at the freaking CAC. If it's making revenue, cool, like scale it. So day 5 plus, if it's within KPI, scale it. If it's outside the KPI by 10 to 20%, let it spend another 72 hours and see if it falls back within KPI, right? Whatever metric you're looking over here, see if everything falls back in to your financial model. If it's way outside of the KPI, like 20% plus, especially on a seasoned account, kill it and run some new creatives. And again, these time frames can be condensed or expanded depending on your spend levels and account history. New accounts with no data and light spend, let the ad spend initially. If you have a new account with no data and light spend, let the ad spend more initially, even like 10 to 14 days to accumulate data before making a decision to turn them off or not. If it's an old account that is seasoned and has higher spend with clear KPIs based upon past data, you can be quicker to cut off new campaigns that you launch to test with because again, you already know what you need to hit and the account's seasoned, so you're not just waiting for it to accumulate data like up here. So again, some more on the decision-making framework once I actually launch a new campaign. If I'm 10 to 20% above my target cost per result, but the front end metrics look strong, like good click-through rates, reasonable CPMs, decent application quality, but maybe people aren't like booking in, that also could be an indication that you're like don't have enough closer availability or something like that, or your calendar isn't like working properly, or your booking form just has like more annoying steps. That's why I like to use that Typeform Calendly combo, because the prospect doesn't have to enter their information, like their contact details on the application and the calendar again. But usually in this case, after 4 to 5 days, I'll give it another 72 hours if these things are holding strong. The conversion optimization might just need a little more time to kick in. So however, if I'm spending significant budget on a seasoned ad account, again with lots of historical data, I can usually tell much faster if something's working or not. The key is having enough statistical significance to make informed decisions rather than emotional reactions to daily fluctuations. That's a big thing, okay? Now, if you have ad fatigue, which is basically your cost per result is going up and your result volume is going down, right? So you've been running ads for a bit, they just fatigued. And basically that occurs because the same ads getting shown to the same audience over and over. It's like driving on a highway and you keep seeing the same billboard over and over again. It's like the first time you look at it, you're like, oh, cool, billboard. Yeah, I like that ad. Second time you look at it, you're like, okay. Third time you look at it, you don't even freaking look at it. You just blow past the billboard, right? And then once they spin up a new billboard, they put a new one on there on the highway, you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, it just repeats the process, right? So if you have ad fatigue, first identify that's happening, right? Cost per result's increasing and result volume is decreasing, usually over a 3 to 5 day period. Don't judge it within a 24 hours and don't judge it over holidays. Right? Holidays have big fluctuations in ad results. So just keep that in mind. Then when you identify that you have ad fatigue, you do what's called a creative refresh. So you duplicate the campaign, put new creatives in. These can be winner remakes and also new ones to test. Slap them in a new campaign, run it. Test new angles, like I said there, mix proven winners with completely new messaging approaches if you'd like. Sometimes you could also just run proven winners, new variations of proven winners. Other times you could run totally new angles, and then also just scale the winners, right? So push budget towards the best performing new combinations. Now, CBO is what we use to test creatives, and when we're actually scaling, we use an ABO structure. So once you have a winning ad from your CBO, you need to type there. So once you have a winning ad from your CBO and a winning audience, break it out into a scaling ABO after that original CBO has been pushed to its limits and is fatiguing. So here's how we scale campaigns too. So I know a lot of people will do this thing where they like scale up a CBO a little bit, or they scale up an ABO, they move it to a CBO, all this stuff. This is just how we do it. This is very simple in how we do it. So once you have a winning ad from your CBO and a winning audience, break it out into its own ABO. What we do is we break it out into a scaling ABO campaign after that original CBO has been pushed to its limits and is fatiguing, okay? So we scale that CBO. Once it stops performing and it fatigues, we pull that winner out, put it into its own ABO, launch a new campaign. When we're really scaling profitably too, by the way, we have two distinct campaign types simultaneously. First, we have a testing campaign, which is our CBO with the 3 targeting methods that we swap around and constantly are testing new creatives and audiences in there. That's like our little testing ground. So it's like 10 to 20% of the budget. And then second, we have our scaling campaign, which is our ABO or a CBO that is currently in its scaling phase. That is before we've broken it out into an ABO, right? Because like I said up here, we run the CBO. Once that stops performing, then we break it out into an ABO. So we have our scaling campaign and then our testing campaign. And this is where the majority of our spend is going to, because it's proven, it's working, and we scale with that. So I like having this testing campaign because again, it always allows us to stay ahead of things and we could find new winners and all that and move them into scaling campaigns. And when you're just starting to run ads, guess what? All of your budget is going to be in testing campaigns because you don't have anything that's proven to scale yet. So you're going to start in the testing campaigns. And then once you have that scaling campaign, you scale that up, then you can start to drip some of the budget towards a testing campaign and then always have that cycling through. So next is back-end optimization. So a lot of people focus on just getting people to click the ad, getting people to book in a call, all that stuff, but they forget the second half of the entire ad funnel and system, which is getting somebody to actually show up to a sales call, pre-framed and ready to buy. That's one big thing that we help our clients with here at Sell More Online is dialing in this back-end optimization. Of course, we get them qualified leads in the front end, but we also get them to book in at high rates and show up to the sales calls. And the way that we do this here is by running content remarketing sequences to people who book calls or opt-ins or make purchases, and also hit them with email flows like pre-call sequences, no-show recoveries, and post-purchase optimization flows to essentially get them to know, like, and trust us and either buy our high-ticket product quicker or ascend into our high ticket from a low ticket quicker as well. We're just getting people to know, like, and trust us in a very short period of time, okay? And again, this is something that we build, these content remarketing sequences, these email flows and everything, we build them for our done-for-you clients. So if you're interested in that, you can click the link down in the description below. I'm not gonna drop a ton of sauce in here because, look, that's reserved for the guys that pay us 10, 20, 30K a month, and we're just gonna keep that there for them. But again, this stuff works. Having content remarketing, having email flows in place that really just drive value, pre-handle objections, pre-frame them, all this stuff really, really helps conversions because it gets people to show up to sales calls or ascend quicker and gets people in a state that is more warmed up, ready to buy, and pre-framed, all by pulling marketing levers and dialing some things in the sales process. So once your ads are actually running profitably, what we do is we like to launch split tests every couple of days, but here's the critical point. We don't just split test to split test, okay? We don't just split test random elements. Instead, we collect data. So we look at the actual data, right? We use something like Hyros, spreadsheets, we use Databox, Airtable, whatever it is, to see how our ad funnel as a whole is performing, and we find the bottlenecks, right? And then what we do is we run a split test on whatever that bottleneck bottleneck is, okay? So if my click-through rate's super, super low and my ROAS and profitability is down, that's the key thing, right? It doesn't matter if your click-through rate's low, but your ROAS is freaking high as heck and you're actually printing cash from that, it doesn't matter, don't touch anything, okay? But if something is an issue, if your ROAS is declining, your revenue is going down, that's when it's like, okay, let's open up here, let's look at what the data is, and let's see what we can optimize and fix. Let's see what split tests we can run now on maybe some new ads, some new headlines, let's swap out the VSL or something like that. Whatever the key bottleneck is, whatever the easiest metric is to increase at that time that's preventing you from getting results, that's what you wanna zero in on, okay? But again, we don't just launch split tests and split tests and split tests and split tests and split tests, okay? You don't wanna do that. If something's scaling and making money, don't touch it, okay? Don't touch it. So this is essentially what we do here is, again, it's just data collection, hypothesis formation. We test the implementation and we just go through decision making, okay? Did it win or not? If the actual test won, keep it. If it did not, revert back to the original. And now finally, your next steps here, okay? So let's consolidate this entire system, all right, into an actual roadmap for you so you can start running ads profitably. So success with Facebook ads requires executing each component systematically, not jumping around randomly hoping to find something that will work. What we wanna do is first, make sure our foundation's good. Create your cold traffic optimized offer with proper economics. Make sure it actually freaking makes money on the front end. Then we wanna dial in our messaging. We want to know who our ICP is. We want to create those different individualized messaging buckets for them and write specific ads inside of each messaging bucket and test those. We want to create the actual creative. So dial in the messaging, have good hooks, have scroll stopping ads, have good visual elements, speak to people who are really looking to buy our services at this current point. That's a big thing that I like to do. We don't try to speak to people to try and convince them to use our services. We want to essentially advertise to people who are looking for our services and our products at that current time. It's gonna make things a lot easier for you to scale, and it's gonna make writing the actual ads easier. Picture your ideal prospect in your mind, somebody who is looking for your specific service or product, and then write an ad for them inside of that messaging bucket. It's gonna help you a lot. Then we wanna make the funnel, right? Pick the conversion mechanism, make the landing page, write the copy on it, and have proper pixel conditioning, launch it, and scale, right? Test different targeting methods, optimize, scale winners. If you have some losers, see why they failed. And if you have some winners, iterate off of those, continuously test new ads as well, and you'll be good to roll. Now, some timeline expectations. So if you implement this system, you should see profitable campaigns within the first few weeks. Obviously, if it's a new account, it's gonna take a little bit longer sometimes, but if you have an older account, right, you should be able to plug in this system and see some results pretty fast. However, understand that true scale and optimization happens over months, not days. So most successful accounts take 30 to 60 days to hit their stride and 90 plus days to achieve significant scale. So within 3 to 4 weeks, we wanna start achieving that initial profitability. 30 to 60 days, we wanna hit that optimization stride, start getting that 1.5x, 2x ROAS, and then 90 days plus is where we wanna start seeing that 2.5, 3x, 4x ROAS, and really just start to dial things in. Once we have our creatives dialed, we're scale and spend, we're dialing in the sales process, nurture sequences, content remarketing, all that stuff, right? We found some winning ads, et cetera, et cetera. And then just some final common implementation mistakes. So the biggest mistakes that we see is people trying to implement everything at once instead of focusing on one component at a time. Start with your offer optimization, then move to messaging, then creatives, then the funnel setup, then finally media buying. Each component builds on the previous one. Another critical error is making optimization decisions too quickly. Facebook's algorithm needs time to learn and your pixel needs time to accumulate meaningful data. Don't just turn your ads on day one and turn them off. I didn't get any conversions, right? Have patience, let it spend. Have a budget that you're okay spending to get no results for 30 to 45 days and you're not grabbing a bottle of Jack Daniels, okay? That's the key thing. You know, patience during this initial learning phase often determines long-term success more than any tactical adjustment. And finally, don't neglect back-end systems. Front-end acquisition is only half of the equation, right? Getting people to book in the call and click the ad and everything. Your ability to convert, retain, and maximize customer value and get people to actually show up to the sales call in the first place is what's actually going to determine if your ads work and if they're profitable and if you have sustainable growth potential. And now if you want us to build an entire paid ad system into your business for a one-time payment with no recurring fees to us whatsoever, there's a link down below. You can check out our full build and release offer. We build it in 14 days, hand it off to you. And then for 14 days more, I run it with you. I scale the system with you. And then I give you all my SOPs and resources for you to scale it on your own. And if you want us to just run your ads completely done for you, there's another link down there as well. Drop a subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one.